Morning, sixth graders, and happy Monday, October 19th. Today we are actually starting a brand new chapter that you're going to get to read over the next week and a half. But what we're going to do first is we're going to do a little chapter preview. So we're going to look at different parts of the chapter as well as different parts of the textbook that are going to be the same in every single chapter. So to do that today, you are going to complete this chapter 2 preview. In addition to this video in today's folder, remember I do have our to-do list, so we'll look at that really quickly. So you should make sure you read the Schoology update. You should complete the attendance Google form attached to the update at home learners only. So those are only those gold kiddos. Create a new subject in Notability called Chapter 2. Upload the Chapter 2 preview PDF into Notability. Make sure you're putting it in that new subject so we're staying organized. Download Chapter 2 evidence from the past in your Northern Lights app or MNHS. Watch the video, which you're already doing now, and complete the Chapter 2 preview and then submit the Chapter 2 preview. Okay, so remember the attendance form is going to be attached to our update over here. Remember to create a new subject. I wanted to AirPlay my iPad, but it didn't let me. But remember to create a new subject in Notability, you just use this little plus button up here in the corner. Oops, wrong side. Yep, I am right. Right there, and you're going to create a new subject, and then you're going to click and drag it to download our chapter. Remember, we have those little blue buttons, right? And we want to have them be little checks versus the little download mark. So you just open Chapter 2, click download. Woo! And then it's going to start downloading for you. Remember that sometimes does take a few minutes. Hopefully not long, though, for any of you. And now let's look at that chapter preview. So you're going to, in our folder for the day, you're going to upload this into Notability. And then in our chapter 2, today you will begin looking at Chapter 2, Evidence from the Past. For each heading listed on this worksheet, there are instructions listed in black and to-dos either in red font or highlighted with a red box. Please make sure you complete all the activities so you are ready for class tomorrow. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is watch the introduction video. Remember, that's at our very beginning. It's 2 minutes long. And then you're going to answer a question about that. The next thing I'm going to have you look at is keywords. They're listed on 2.02. So I'm going to jump back to the textbook with you. And we're going to see that our keywords are listed here. Okay. Remember, you can always have them be read to you just by clicking on this little speaker button. Now, sixth graders, I have this habit of using multiple words to mean the same thing when it comes here. So sometimes I call them key terms like our book does. Sometimes I call them vocabulary words. And sometimes I call them key words, okay? You should know that all of those three words kind of all mean the same thing. Okay, then you're going to pick one and write your own definition, and then also find the definition in your Northern Lights textbook. So if we're looking at the word petroglyph, if I move on, most of the time our vocab words are listed here in the margin or the side of our textbook. Okay. Remember, you're supposed to pick one that makes sense to you or that you think you know. So I'm assuming most of you are not going to choose petroglyph because I'm assuming most of you, that's going to be a brand new word for you. Okay, timeline practice. Now, sixth graders, this is where a lot of sixth graders struggle, okay? And a timeline is just that. It's a line that shows time passing, okay? Similar to a number line, but it's a little bit different. So our calendar is based off of the birth of Christ, okay? And that is year 0, okay? And then 0 equals the birth of Christ. Everything before that is BCE, and it stands for Before Common Era, Everything after that is CE, or Common Era. Okay, some of you might have heard of AD and BC, or BC and AD, but in our textbook, and really in most historical contexts in today's world, we use the abbreviations BCE for anything happening before year 0, and the words CE for anything happening after the year 0. Okay. So all you're going to do in Notability is you are going to write or type these 5 times in these 5 boxes, okay? Making sure that you include the label, like you do in math, of BCE or CE, because you'll notice we have 2000s, right? But one is BCE and one is CE, and they're 2,000 years apart, so we want to distinguish between the two, okay? So now, after you do kind of understand that concept of a timeline, and that BCE is going to be before CE, right? You are going to look at the timeline in our textbook on page 2.03. Notice that it's interactive, as I said on the worksheet, and you can scroll down and you see a lot of other items, okay? The really cool thing about our timelines in our textbook is they talk about things that are happening in Minnesota, but they also talk about things that are happening in different places of the world, or different places of what is today called the United States. So they really try and give you a context of all the things that are happening around the world and where Minnesota history fits into that. So once you are done reading all the events like our worksheet told us to, you're going to pick one event and write that down here. And it's the most important event mentioned in the timeline. And why did you pick this event? Then you're going to pick what you think I might think is the most important event, and why you would think that is the most important event. Okay, so some time reading that timeline and then answering these questions. A heading, okay? Textbook headings are incredibly important as we move forward. They're kind of like signposts of telling us what we're going to be reading about. And headings are often bigger, bolder words like a title. They can even be subheadings, which are smaller ones, but they're still bigger than our normal font. You're going to find a heading in chapter 2 and then answer some questions, okay? So if we're looking in chapter 2, here we see a heading here, messages from the past. I'm going to try and find a couple more. Here's another one. Our chapters always are kind of color-coded. So you'll notice that this chapter is yellow. That's another hint that we have some headings. Is there a different text color? And then here you'll see some subheadings, okay? Another heading. Step 1, ask a question, is a subheading, okay? So in that chapter 2 preview, you're going to write about those headings and make a prediction or a guess based on the heading. And then finally, the last feature of our textbook that we're going to look at in chapter 2 is pictures, okay? So as I was paging through, you might have noticed that there were a ton of different pictures. They can give us a clue about what the individual section is about, but more importantly, they often add information and make information in the reading more interesting. So you're supposed to find a picture in chapter 2 that catches your attention. You're going to screenshot it and insert it here into this box, and then tell us why you chose this picture and how does this connect with what you predicted the chapter would be about. So remember, way up here, after you watched that video, you said what you thought the chapter was going to be about. How does that picture support it? Or maybe it doesn't, and you can tell me why that is too, okay? So once you are done with this chapter preview, go ahead and upload it to the assignment in today's folder. This video is going to be just over 10 minutes. So at home learners, that means you still have 40 minutes to do these tasks. There's 5 tasks. So that's roughly 8 minutes per each task. And I definitely don't think that is impossible. I think that's a solid amount of time to do these different parts of this worksheet. If you have any questions, as always, send me an email and ask me those questions. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. And I will see you online on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then in person on Thursday. Thanks, 6th graders.